In this video, I'm going to show you how to make these cute Christmas doodles. If you are a beginner, this is perfect for you because we are going to go step by step in this tutorial, and we are going to be using a Traceable as a guide. So even if you can't draw, you can definitely draw these doodles with me. Hello and welcome to Color with Kendi. For this video, there is a free Traceable that you can download. It's available in the description as well as a pinned comment. We're not going to trace it as such, but we are going to use it as a guide. And I know as a beginner, it can sometimes be a little bit difficult to draw, so having a guide can be useful. If you're following along in Procreate with me, just download the Procreate file, and then all you have to do is tap on it and it will import into Procreate for you. Okay, so this is the file, and let me just show you the layers menu. We have a layer where we're going to draw, that's labeled draw here, and there's also the guide. So the guide is very light right now. I hope you can see it on screen. And if you want to make it a little bit darker, you can make it a little bit darker. Don't make it too dark because then you won't be able to see your own lines that you're going to be drawing, but anything between 6 and 15 is good. I'm going to leave it where it was. It was around 6%. That's good enough for me. So tap on the draw here layer and let's begin drawing in here. So whenever I draw cats, the first thing I like to do is draw the ears. The ears are basically pointy triangles, and that's one way of doing it. I actually prefer to make them a little bit softer. So just a little bit more rounded, it makes them a bit cuter. And then I'm going to join the bottom of the ears with a couple zigzaggy lines to indicate hair. The next step is to draw a curve that goes outwards to start drawing the face, and then just soften that curve a little bit and then draw inwards and then join the lines. So that's the face of the cat done. Now let's do the eye placement. So where you place the eyes can make the cat look cuter, a little bit younger. So this cat has the eyes kind of at the midpoint. I'm going to lower the eyes a little bit and space them out just a touch more, and he's gonna look a bit cuter. Now I'm going to add the nose. So the nose is a little bit below the eyes, and I'm going to add a little triangle and then draw a line down. Now draw a little face. Do you see how this guy's a little cuter than the original? Because his eye placement's a little lower and his eyes are spread out a little. Then I'm going to draw circles for his rosy cheeks. And now I'm going to add some whiskers. You can do completely straight lines, but I always like to add a little bit of a curve. So that's the face done. Now let's add a little bit more detail to the ear. Now let's do his scarf. So the scarf, 2 curves, and then join the curves. And then again, 2 curves down and join the curves. 1 curve down and join it. And now let's do his cap. So there's just a line that goes from at the midpoint of the ear and goes around. And then another half circle right here. And then some curves to indicate a little pom-pom at the top. And now you can add any details that you'd like. You can add some details to the scarf if you would like to do that too, just to give it a little bit more visual interest. Now let's move on to this botanical. I always like to draw the stems first and then the details. So I'm going to start off with the thickest one, which is in the center. It's just basically a curved line, and then add a few more curves that go right into the main branch. Then add the berries. Done. Really simple. Okay, next doodle. Let's draw these mittens. So for the mittens, the first step is to draw a curve, like a U, an upside down U, but not all the way. And then come out and do a curve down like that for the thumb, and then join the lines, and then draw another line at the top. And let's do the same thing here. So it's like it's an upside down U, and then come out with the thumb, and then join the lines. And now for details, I'm just going to add a few lines here. And then you want to join the mitts. You can add any line that you want. And then I'm going to add some details on the side. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make them a little cuter by doing curved lines, not circles. And now I want to add some of that detail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the paper at an angle and then just draw a few lines across and then rotate. I find it a lot easier to do this with rotating. If I had to do this without rotating, it would be very difficult. And we're not trying to be perfect here. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side too. So a few lines across. Try to make them at equal distances, but it doesn't have to. And then a few lines across like this. Rotate your page because it will be a bit easier. And then zoom out. Let's see. Looks cute so far. So now let's move on to the next one. So the next one is this snow globe here. So this is basically a circle that has not been completed at the bottom. And then you have a little base. So let's start off with the circle. So let's create a curve. And to make it more circular, all you have to do is hold your pencil in Procreate. You see I'm holding it. And then just press one finger on the screen. And now it's pretty much perfect circle without the bottom of it. And what we're going to do now, zoom in, join that, and then two lines outward at an angle, and then join those. That becomes the base. You can add some details here if you'd like, a couple lines. And now let's draw the tree. So I like to start off the top, curve outwards, and then curve in, curve outwards, curve in, curve outwards. And now do the same thing on the other side. Curve outwards, curve in, curve outwards, curve in, curve outwards. And then I like to and then draw a line at the bottom, and then the trunk. I'm going to add a few circles. And now I'm just going to add a little bit of the horizon line here, and a cute little star at the top. Then you can add some details. Okay, so that's done. Now let's move on to this botanical here. So for botanicals, I always like to draw the stem first, and now we can draw the leaves. So there's basically a curve that comes to a point, and then a curve that goes back to the stem. So curve out, and a curve that goes back to the stem. Curve out, curve back in, curve out, curve back in. And when you're drawing that curve, what you want to do is create a little bit of a point. Now, if you want to add some details here, you definitely can. I'm just going to leave this like that. So that's done. Okay, let's move on to the bell. So for the bell, the first thing you want to do is create a U shape, but with a curve at both ends. So like that and like that. So it's basically, the bell curve, that's what it is. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create an oval that joins this and this. Now let's create the center. So it's basically two lines and a circle. And you can erase that if you'd like. I'm just going to leave it. And now create a circle at the top of that bell, and then create a curve to indicate that this is a bow, and create the ribbons at the bottom. You can add some details there if you'd like. So that's the bell done. This, I should probably erase it. So let's go to the eraser tool. Let's make it a bit smaller. And there we go. So that's the bell. Now let's move on to the candy. I'm going to make my pencil size a little bit smaller for this. So first things first, for the candy, just create an oval shape. If you want it to be perfect, just create it and then hold. Now it's a perfect oval. That's how to create a perfect shape in Procreate. Make it and hold. Don't lift your pencil, and it will make a perfect shape. Now let's create a few curves. I didn't like that last one. And then to create the end part of the wrapper, just draw a line out and then zigzag and then draw a line back in. So out, zigzag, and a line back in. So that's it. That's the candy done. Now let's move on to the gingerbread man. So for the gingerbread man, basically it's a circle at the top and then you've got the arms and the legs. So let's start off with the circular part. So create that circular part. If you want it to be perfect, just hold and put one finger on the screen and it'll become a perfect circle. And then what you want to do is create basically a U shape and another U shape that comes into the waistline, and then two more U shapes. Oops, I think I tilted the pencil. Another U shape and another U shape. So it's a very long U shape. Now let's make the face. So the face is just two little ovals for the eyes, and then happy face, and then rosy cheeks. And you can create a bow tie if you'd like. And then creates a few lines for details here. Some buttons. And that's the gingerbread man. So now let's have a look. Let's zoom out. So it looks good so far. So let's keep going. Let's draw this little Christmas ornament. Simple. This is just a circle. Hold it and tap on the screen. It'll be a perfect circle. And then create the top of it. And then this is just a little loop. And draw any sort of decoration that you want in here. Just going to do some squiggles. That's what I want to do. And now let's move on to the bird. The basic shape here is an oval that kind of tapers a little bit. So let's draw that in first. So that's what it is. So imagine this was an oval. And it just tapers a bit. And then what we want to do is draw these curves here. Actually, let me do that again. I'm not happy with them. Okay. And you can add some detail here if you'd like. I'm going to add the eye. And I always do the rosy cheeks. And then you can add the beak. You could make it bigger or smaller. I'm going to make it a bit smaller than the original. And now for the wings, basically you start off kind of below that cheek. And what you want to do is create a curve outwards like that. And let's do the same thing on this side. And then you want to soften it a little bit and make it a little bit curved. You don't want it to be completely straight. And then bring it down and do a couple curves and then bring it back in. So let's do that again. So soften it a little bit, bring it down, do a couple curves, and then bring it back into the body. Pretty simple. And now let's add a line here and okay, the next one is the holly. So I like to draw a circle in the center. I'm not going to make this a perfect circle. You can if you'd like. The same thing. You draw and hold and then put one finger on the screen. And now I'm going to create another circle here and then a smaller one here. And now to draw the holly leaves, basically a curve out and another curve out, another curve out. And then it's joining here at the tip. Curve and curve. So that's basically it. And I find that it's easier to rotate the page to the other one because I struggle to do it without rotating the page. So same thing, curve out, then another curve out, and then you want to join them at this tip here. And then another line. So that is the holly. Very cartoony holly. It's not realistic. It's not meant to be, but you can definitely make it more realistic. If you'd like, you can add more details. Now let's move on to the envelope. So this is pretty easy. To make it a little cuter, I do have slightly curved lines. You could make this straighter if you don't want to make it as cute. So what I'm going to start off with is 2 lines this way and 2 lines this way. And then a heart in the center. You can add something else in the center if you'd like. And then basically you want to join this corner with the heart and then this corner with the heart. And notice that my lines are not perfectly straight, and I think that adds some visual interest to it. You can make your lines perfectly straight if you'd like. Let me show you how to do that in Procreate. So I'm going to take this corner here and draw a line upwards. And if I hold it, and I'm holding it, I'm not releasing the pencil, it's a perfectly straight line. And I can do the same thing on this side, corner, and then hold it. And it's a perfectly straight line. So you can definitely do that if you'd like. So that's the envelope. It's a little bit curvier than I expected, but that's okay. Now let's move to the penguin. So the penguin is basically this U shape here that we're going to join at the bottom. So that's the first step. And then we will do the feet, the arms, and then the details. I find that when you have more complex doodle, it's just easier to break it down into shapes. So the first shape is this U shape here, and if you want to make it perfect, you can hold. So I'm holding, and it's like a perfect shape. And then you basically want to join the bottom of that. And the feet are just curves. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's a bit weird, that middle toe is strange. So those are cute little feet. You can add some details if you'd like. And then the flippers, are they flippers or fins? I'm not sure. They're just curves out and in, out and in. And if you want to make it a bit cuter, you can make it a bit more rounded. Mine are a little bit pointier than I expected, but that's okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this cuter. These are little earmuffs, and then another curve here. Not too high, I think it's a bit too high. There we go. Those are his earmuffs. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add his eyes a little bit lower than the original. And then you have circles for the cheeks. And now for the mouth, it's basically you draw a little triangular shape like that, and then another triangular shape. Pretty simple, right? And now for the inner part of the penguin, just start off with a curve that goes down and another curve that goes down, and then they join together. And then we can draw in the scarf. So that is the scarf. It's just 2 curved lines. And then we can draw in the rest of the scarf. So just basically curved lines and another curved line and join it at the bottom. And we will need to erase a little bit here. So we're going to have to erase this portion here and this portion here. It doesn't make sense. And this here, a little bit of this here. Again, doesn't need to be perfect. And what I want to do is add a little bit of detail to the scarf. So I'm just going to add a few lines that go down. I want to do the same thing here. And then I'm going to rotate it a bit and then draw a few more lines. So it's kind of like a pattern. Okay, he's pretty cute. I think to make him a bit cuter, what I want to do is round off these edges. They're a little bit too pointy for me. So whenever you want to make something cute, I find that rounded shapes work a lot better. Okay, so that's our penguin. I want him to say hello, so I'm going to add a little bit of a speech bubble. Hello. Okay, it's looking pretty good so far. Let's move on to the snowman now. So the snowman is basically an oval here or a circle, and then you've got a few more curves to indicate that body. So I'm going to start off with the top, which is just an oval. I don't want to make it perfect because you know what's a snowman is not perfect. Then I'm going to create the eyes. Again, I'm going to move the eyes downwards just a touch because I do find that's a little bit cuter. And then circles, and then the nose. So the nose is a carrot here. It would be pointing in this direction. So I'm going to draw a line and another line here and make a triangle. So that's the nose. And for the mouth, maybe I'm just going to do a couple dots for the mouth. Okay, that looks nice. And now there's a curve for his hat. And then the pom-pom. I'm going to add a few details here. I'm going to rotate my canvas. It's just easier. So there we go. So that's his hat. I feel like his hat needs a little bit more detail here. So what I'm going to do is draw kind of the base of the cap there. Okay. Okay, now let's draw the body. So the body is just some curves down and then some more curves. All right, and then I'm just gonna draw the snowbank that he's on and just maybe a couple details here to indicate that there's snow. And now let's draw his arm. So it's just a branch like that. So I'm gonna make the branch. And right now this branch has 2 fingers. I want to draw in 3. It's just, the shape is basically made up of lines. These are kind of like little rectangles. So a line here, make a line outwards and another line outwards. And then just a few more lines. Actually, now this side has 4. 4 fingers and this side 3 on that. Okay, that's all right. And then I'm gonna erase that center. And now I'm going to add his scarf. So the curve, that's the scarf. And then as we did earlier, a line down and join the 2. And another line down and join it. And for this scarf, maybe I'll do polka dots this time, because we've done the stripes for some of the other scarves. So let's do polka dots, irregular polka dots. Okay, got polka dots. He looks cute. I feel like he is missing ears. I'm gonna draw ears on him. Actually, no, maybe not. Let's leave the ears out. So okay, our snowman is done. Now let's do the sock. Okay, so for this, how I like to do it is draw a line, like a straight line, and then with a curve. That becomes the base for this straight line and curve. But I want to actually, when I'm drawing this curve, I want to go out a little bit for the heel. So straight line, go out a little bit for the heel, and then draw that curve up. And now draw another straight line here up till this point, and then curve it and join. Curve and join. And now let's draw a curve like this for the heel and for the ankle area. And then another curve here. As you can see, I tend to use a lot of curves. I could just use a straight line for this, but I find that it's a little less cute. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. I think curved lines give things a bit of cuteness. And then a couple lines here, and then 2 lines that go out, and then a cute little pom-pom. And now you can add whatever details you like on this sock. I'm just gonna do stripes and keeping it easy. And then maybe a couple lines there. Okay, so that is the sock done. Now we have a few more left. We're almost there. So let's do the, I guess, Christmas pudding here. So the Christmas pudding is very simple. There is a half circle here, and then we join it, and then we have an oval shape. So those are the basic shapes, and we've already done the holly before. So let's start off with the half circle. Oops. So this kind of happens sometimes with certain pencils. If you tilt, I accidentally tilted, I didn't mean to. So this pencil, without tilt, it looks like this. If I tilt it, it's like this. So if I'm creating a stroke and I'm tilting, you'll get that kind of effect. So half circle, I want it to be perfect. So I am holding it and then release. And then I'm going to join the bottom. And now I'm going to create this oval, hold it, and then release. So it's like a perfect shape. And I create a line this way to indicate the plate. And this is just curves, go up and down. And you don't need to be perfect with it. There we go. And now let's just draw the holly. Curve out, out, another curve, and then curve to the tip. Curve out, another curve, and then curve to the tip. That's our Christmas pudding. Looks good. All right, this is really easy. It is a cloud. Though there's many ways to draw a cloud, but I'm gonna start off with somewhat straight line at the bottom, and then it's just curves. The curves go upwards and then go downwards. And you could do this in either direction. So right now, this is the highest point. Maybe I'll draw this a little bit differently, like this. You can draw it in any way that you'd like, and then some snowflakes by just drawing these lines to look like stars. There we go. Then we have this mug. So for the mug, the basic shape is an oval here, and then there's a straight line down, a straight line to join it. So let's start with that. So oval, I want to create a perfect oval, so I'm holding. So that's a perfect oval. And you know what? Maybe for this mug, I want a little bit of a curve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to curve this line down and then join it. And then here, create a curve and then another curve. Actually, it's a little bit too big for this mug since our mug is smaller now. Curve and curve. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's fine. And then the snowflake is just these 3 lines, and then maybe I'll change this up a little bit. I've got these 3 lines, and then I've got these kind of arrow shapes going on. That's our little snowflake. And then here, the steam, some curves. So that's our mug. And to indicate that there's something in this mug, draw another line. Okay, now let's move on to the candy cane. So for the candy cane, it's just basically a curve and then another curve and 2 curves here. It's pretty easy to do, but sometimes the shape comes out wonky. So I suggest you draw this fast, because if you take too long to draw this curve, it's sometimes just a weird shape. So that's the outer curve, and then you want the inner curve. Okay, sometimes I gotta do this a few times, and then just join. And to make it a bit cuter, a little rounded. And now I'm going to rotate my page and then draw in curves here. I don't like to draw straight lines. I like to draw in curves to indicate that this is somewhat rounded object. Because a candy cane isn't completely flat, it's a bit rounded. So I use slightly curving lines for that. Okay, that's the candy cane. And now we only have 2 things left. We have the glasses, and which one should I do first? Let's do the glasses. Okay, so the glasses is basically a U, a very long U, and another long U, and then an oval at the top, and then lines. So let's do that. So let's do the U, and then the oval, and the curve. Same thing here. U, oval, and then a curve, and then the lines at the bottom, and then you can add some dots here. And you might want to add a word, clink, clink. Okay, we're on to the last doodle. This is really easy. So this is just a rectangle at the top, and then straight line down, and then join the lines. And then 2 curves to indicate the top. You can add more if you'd like. And now I added hearts to mine. I know it's not Valentine's Day, it's Christmas, but I like hearts. And oops, tilted the pencil again. And just a few lines down. You can add whichever details you'd like. And what I want to do now is add a couple more details here where I had these little stars just to make it a little bit more festive. So there we go. That is the doodles done. Now, if you want to see what your creation looks like without the guide, just go to the layers menu and turn off the guide. So then you won't see it. Now that you're done, you can color these in if you'd like. All right, so that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this Christmas doodles video. If you have any requests for videos, let me know in the comments below. See you in the next video. Bye.